What's going on, everybody? Liv Moods here, joined by the fabulous Erin Kate Dolan for episode 3 of Girls Who Bet. This is a very special episode, not just because we have a special guest, Ariel Epstein, prop queen, joining us in a little bit, but it is also Wine Wednesday.
So
Erin, I
instead
know
of
you didn't bring
wine,
wine,
I
but
brought
you
the
did one better.
tequila. I don't really like wine, and I was in the mood to make a mark. And actually, it does look pretty cute. The lime I could have done a
Super
better
cute.
job on, but I didn't really know how to cut that properly. So that's what we're
It's so
working with.
funny, you guys. I called her before this and I was like, "Hey, I'm on my way home. Like, I'll see you soon." She's like, "Hey, I gotta go. I'm making a drink." I'm like,
I
"Oh,
was trying to
she's
be
making a
intense so that I could
cocktail."
actually make it taste relatively good compared to, I get margs a lot when I'm out, so I had to try to make it as
I
good.
was like, "Okay, she's making a cocktail." I was like lame and just poured some wine in a glass. But I do have to say, before we bring on Ariel in a little bit, um, I would bet my life on it that she will show up with a wine glass filled with the
She
exact
will.
same wine that I am drinking, which is Kim Crawford Sauvignon Blanc. I put my life on it. I will ask her when she joins what she's drinking, but I guarantee you, her and I are winos, and that's our favorite one. So I decided to cheers to the prop queen. But either way,
Yes.
Erin, tough week 2.
I mean, our first segment, I was thinking about it, and I just named it "When It Rains, It Pours," like that Luke Combs song. And I mean, I'm going to kind of speak for Liv here. Did
Please.
terrible in week 2. I was so hot week 1. I'm talking like 10-2. I don't think I hit one bet in week 2, and I knew this was coming. I knew I'd go on a cold streak. I just didn't know this badly.
Well, you did warn people. You did say on episode 2, you're like, I was on a hot streak, which means a cold streak is coming. You did warn. I just don't think you nor I anticipated the cold streak would be like Antarctic type freezing cold, because
Yeah,
it
no,
was
it was like
brutal.
Titanic freezing, Jack's in the water freezing, dying type situation. It
Iceberg,
was
Titanic,
terrible.
were frozen in the water, like ice cold. But you and I were actually talking on the phone because we had a live stream last week on Instagram. And it's very funny to see the difference. Not really funny, but very crazy how different the DMs and the comments are after a winning week and after a losing week. And I don't know
Yes.
about you, and I should have done this a long time ago, but I actually turned off my DMs on Twitter. And I
Oh, I
actually
don't have
hate
them at
that I
all.
had here's why I don't like that I had to do that, because I actually get a lot of fulfillment from chatting with people, and some of my followers are so nice and they say the sweetest things, and I love interacting with people and, like, being
Mhm.
a personable, friendly person. But last week was tough. We had some very ugly people on the IG live. I mean, the DMs
Yeah,
were wild this
it comes with
weekend.
the territory, but I feel like not NHL, excuse me, NFL just heightens it. And
Mhm.
you can't win because in week 1, when I was winning, people were like, "Oh, some guy is giving you that," or "Oh, the book gave you that," or "You didn't actually hit that," or X, Y, and Z. And then I took less heat, honestly, this week because I got so many DMs on Instagram. My DMs are open, not on Twitter, saying I couldn't hit a bet. None of my friends could hit a bet. We were all out at the bar. Nobody can hit a bet. What is up with week 2? And I had talked about this before the season even started. Week 1 and week 2 are two of the hardest weeks to bet in the NFL because there's not much to draw off of it. NFL week 2 was overreaction week. Obviously, some of that I factored into the picks that I was making. But it is interesting to see. I feel like you just can't win. You can't win. When you're winning, they're mad. When you're losing, they're mad. So it comes with the territory.
I got to give a shout out on Twitch. S Bruner 17 says he went 3 and 1. He or she, I'm sorry, went 3 or 1. Can't win them all. Haters gonna hate. So true. I mean, the
Yeah.
reality is, no matter what we do, we're gonna have people that love it and we're gonna have people that hate it. So S Bruner 17, shout out to you for the support. I believe, Erin, correct me if wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we're gonna give out some FanDuel credit today a little bit. So
Yes,
maybe
we
we'll
will.
do a trivia question, or we'll just give it to someone who's got good energy. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
S
let's give
Bruner's
it
got some good energy.
let's give it in a half hour and then one after Ariel Epstein because when we have her on, we're gonna do 2 truths and a lie, which will be really fun. So you want to stay
Yes.
tuned for that. And she's gonna give some great insight into how she handicaps games and just kind of her presence as a female in the sports betting industry like Liv and I. So stay tuned for that. But let's also
Stay
talk
tuned.
about some of our teams because this weekend the Eagles lost at home. It was very unfortunate. It was a tough scene. Looking forward to this week though, we play Dallas in Dallas Monday Night Football. So we'll get a little bit into those lines in a tad bit. But I know your Denver Broncos looked a lot better than my
Yes.
Philadelphia Eagles.
You know what, though? Again, I don't want to let myself get too excited here with this Broncos team because I felt this before. The highs are high and the lows are low. So I'm not letting myself get too excited just yet. I will say I'm very excited about this matchup for them up against the Jaguars. I think that I'm sorry, not the Jaguars, the Jets. Wrong bad team. My apologies. They're both bad J teams.
Both
My bad.
terrible. Both
I'm
absolutely
sorry.
atrocious.
Up against this Jets team, I really like them. They're finally at home, Mile High Stadium. I'm excited to see it, packed and pumped up. And Teddy Bridgewater, 37-14 against the spread, 72.5%. So he is definitely, and I gotta say it, I gotta be honest. As a Broncos fan, I was nervous about Bridgewater, mostly nervous about his health, but just not sure what he was going to bring to this Broncos team. He is killing it. I've loved watching him. So I'm a happy Broncos fan, but I'm also treading lightly because I've seen this before. I don't want to get myself too excited, but I do think they have a good matchup in the Jets being at home. The 11 spread, we can talk about bets a little bit later. I think that's a lot. So I'm not sure I'm going to touch that game, but I am excited and I think that they get a W. I'm just not sure if they'll cover the 11 points there, but I'm excited to watch the Eagles against Dallas. I don't want to make any hot takes quite yet.
I wish it was in
I
Philly.
know that I know, and that's I was gonna say
in Philly.
if it was in Philly, it would be electric, and I'd probably be flying out to go to the game with you, to be completely honest.
I'd personally fly you out.
Yeah, but I'm excited for that game. I think that's a really awesome Monday Night Football game, and I know we'll get to it. But I'm not writing off your Eagles team. I still like watching them. I still like Jalen Hurts, so I've got the faith there. I'm still feeling it.
All right, well, let's go through some of the other teams that are undefeated. So the Raiders and the Broncos in the AFC West. We have the 49ers, Rams, Cardinals, NFC West, and then the Bucks and Panthers in the NFC South. So your Broncos still undefeated. Some of these teams are going to play each other. The Rams and the Bucks will play each other this week, which I personally think on the slate is the best game. Another thing I wanted to mention, which was interesting, is since 2007, only 10% of teams that start 0-2 make the playoffs. That includes Minnesota, the Colts, Detroit, Atlanta, the Jets, Jags, and New York Giants. What's most surprising to me out of those teams, Liv, would probably be the Colts. I mean, Carson Wentz, I already made my stance on him from Philadelphia, not going to go there. But just in general, like the fact that he rolled both ankles again, and a lot of people are riding high on the Colts potentially being able to beat the Titans in that division. But it's just interesting to see some of these teams like just going 0-2, 10% chance to make the playoffs.
Tough. I'm not necessarily surprised by the lineup of teams that we have going 0-2 right now. What I'm more interested about is these undefeated teams because being undefeated doesn't last very long unless you're the Steelers and you do it like that was absurd. I didn't see that coming at all last season, but I'm kind of interested to get your take on which of these undefeated it has totally sailed. I'm interested to get your take on which undefeated team you think is the next to lose. You've got the 49ers playing the Packers. Like you said, Rams are playing the Bucks. Panthers are playing the Texans. I think the Panthers can definitely get a win there. Cardinals playing the Jaguars. I have no issues with the Cardinals in that one. I know a lot of people on Twitter have kind of been telling me a little nervous about how heavy the public is on the Cardinals. That's not one where I don't think I'm going to consider the public just because it's the Cardinals up against the Jaguars. Like I would be astonished. Now, maybe they don't cover that 7.5 spread, but I don't see them losing in that one. I don't see the Broncos losing to the Jets. The Raiders, potentially, the public's going to be hot on the Raiders. The Raiders are going to be at home. I could see the Raiders maybe being the next team to get a loss out of these undefeated teams, but I would love to know your stance. Obviously, Bucks and Rams, it's tough because they're both on the list. One of them has to lose, but I think the Raiders could potentially get a loss here. I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, I feel like with the Raiders, the issue right now is Derek Carr and his health because we're still waiting to see if he is going to start in that game. So for me personally, just knowing that Tua is out, knowing that Derek Carr could be questionable, personally would stay away from it, but totally understand your point there. As opposed to, let's say, the Broncos, I assume, are going to beat the Jets. The Cardinals are going to beat the Jags. The Panthers are expected to beat the Texans. That line keeps moving out. But I feel like the Texans might be able to cover something there because everyone's betting that line up so high at this point. But I know that we both like Green Bay to cover +3.5. I think they have the potential easily to I shouldn't say the word easily, to beat the 49ers. I think out of all of them, Green Bay could come out successful in that. Now the Bucks Rams, I do like the Bucks in it. They were originally the underdog. Short underdog was basically a pick 'em. They now flipped to minus money, but the Rams playing at home, SoFi Stadium, I could see the Rams pulling off a win. I know a lot of the talk is
I could
can the
too.
Bucks go undefeated, and then the other conversation I keep hearing about is are the Jags actually going to be able to go like 0-17 again? So it's going to
Right.
be interesting to see how that shakes out. I mean, the NFC West, just in general, the fact that the 49ers are so good, the Rams are so good, the Cardinals are so good, just a tough
Right.
division. But out of all of them, I think in order who's going to stay undefeated, you make a good point about the Raiders Miami game, and then I think it's going to be one of the Bucks or Rams. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's a tough one for me.
I know. I just right off the top, I think if I had to pick an undefeated team that's going to suffer a loss this weekend, I would go Raiders. But anything can happen. I mean, for God's sake, if week 2 doesn't show you that anything can happen, I don't know what does, because my Lord, we had not only a ton of bets, but a lot of injuries this week as
Yeah,
well, it felt like.
terrible.
And in addition, I mean, there was taunting calls, there were bad beats, there were underdogs covering the spread again, but injuries were also bad.
Yeah, injuries were terrible. We have Tua, he's out with a rib injury. Andy Dalton, he's going to be out. Justin Fields is going to play, which is smack in the middle of the week that Liv and I had picked. She thought he was going to start week 2. I thought he was going to start week 4. Obviously, with Andy Dalton being injured, that kind of expedited it. Then we have Tyrod Taylor. He's going to be out hamstring. Davis Mills is going to start for the Texans Thursday Night Football. Wentz rolled both of his ankles, but his status is still to be determined against the Titans. Now, Baker Mayfield, he is starting. I'm just mentioning that he did kind of rough up his shoulder in that one
Yeah.
play this past weekend, but he ended up coming back in the game. So I'm not too concerned about that. But I just felt like the feed was coming through all weekend of injury, out. Oh, he's back in. Oh, he's not.
Yep.
So it's going to be a tough week in terms of week 3 betting as well, with kind of the health and availability of some of these players, because we're not at the point where anybody's making a playoff push where we're like, okay, he's definitely going to play. They'll figure something
Right.
out. They'll
They don't
chew him
really
with some
need to play
cortisone.
right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well,
So
I
that's
made
gonna
a
be tough.
tweet. I made a tweet a little bit about kind of how I was leaning towards the Bengals this week, just because the
Yeah.
Steelers head coach, he had a press conference on Tuesday and came forward, and even I mean, he was very honest and was like, yeah, we've got quite a few injuries right now, especially defensively. They've got quite a few,
Yeah.
but
TJ Watt
even Ben
is going to be a huge
Roethlisberger
loss.
now has a little bit of a pectoral injury, I guess. And the coach did say he may play, but it is definitely hindering his preparation for week 3. So you're right. Lots of injuries to be talked about. And like you said, it's not the playoffs yet. You don't need to be playing these players. So
Mm-hmm.
is it worth it to keep pushing them and potentially be out for the season? Or do you just
Yeah.
rest them and get them better? Because these games
Fair
don't
point.
necessarily matter. It matters if you took the over on their win total for sure. So
Mm-hmm.
bettors are definitely upset. But again, it's kind of that decision as a coach of, do you really take the risk in a game that's not a huge deal? So it'll be
Mm-hmm.
interesting to see who plays this week, who starts, and what we've got going on there. I'm going to take a look at the chat on Twitch. Someone said, David GN516 said, agree with Liv, Raiders next to go down. Love that. Okay. S Bruner 17 again, super active in the Twitch chat, said Aaron Darnold hungry to get at Tom Brady. I could see it for sure.
I can't pronounce some of these names, but I guess that's supposed to say eighth wonder. Cardinals shouldn't even be undefeated if it weren't for the Vikings missing a field goal, game-winning field goal. That's the same kick. Blah, blah. Minnesota has a history of missing kicks. You have a point, but they
This
won, so I can't
true.
really like.
There's no should have, could have, would have, or like
Yeah.
it was close. They either won or they lost, and
That's
fortunately they
also the
won.
funniest thing about our job is like I don't even care which team wins as long as they cover. That's all that really matters, unless you have someone money line, obviously. So I always have to factor in like I'm not always paying attention to who's winning the games. I'm just like,
Literally.
did they cover? Did they cover? And the 5
It's
NFL teams that are undefeated against the spread are the Panthers, Cowboys, your Broncos again, because they're on every list. The Texans and the Raiders as well.
It's so funny you bring that up. I was just thinking about how my brain when watching sports has flipped because of my job. Like
Oh, mine's been
normally if
gone
you're
for years.
watching like if you're watching your team, if you're watching the Eagles, I'm watching the Broncos. A win is all I used to care about. Now I'm like, okay, you better make this field goal because I'm about to lose by the hook
Yeah.
if you don't figure it out. And I still find myself, even if they win, you're still getting upset with your team. It's crazy how my brain has changed. This is a good question for you, Erin, from the chat on Twitch. It says, David GN516 again says, do you think all 4 teams from the NFC West can reach the playoffs?
Not all 4 teams, I would say. I mean, that's actually a tough question. I mean, obviously,
I
one of
know.
them is going to
That's
go
why.
into it no matter what. All 4 teams, no, I don't see all 4 teams going to it. Things
Who
are
do
going
you
to
think
happen
is
the
the
second
first
half of the
out?
season.
Who do you think's the first out? Hitting you with a tough
First
question
out,
again.
I mean, they're expecting, at least the odds before the season, we're expecting that the Cardinals would be the one team out of them out. But at the same time, the 49ers keep kind of having those injuries coming along. Like they're still 2-0, but they lost a lot of key players. Like again,
Right.
they're 2-0. But I love the Seahawks, but they're 1-1. They're in the bottom of the division right now, technically. I love the Cardinals too. This is such a tough question. I think something will happen to the 49ers, but then you have Trey Lance, so you're kind of I'm getting stumped on that question.
I think I would probably knock the Seahawks out first, to be completely honest with you.
I feel like Russ. It makes sense, but I actually think he's been looking good the first couple weeks. But then again, he kind of did this at the beginning of last season. I think they went 5-0, and then he was kind of showed negative regression from there. But same thing with Kyler Murray. The Cardinals were so hot at the beginning of last season, and then I think they finished 7-7 at the end there.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out for sure. That's definitely the toughest division to look at in terms of a betting perspective,
Well,
in my
it's so
opinion.
hard futures in general, just when people ask these
Oh,
questions, because the injuries, like look how many players went down
right.
now. Like this is only going to get worse. Also, look at the Saints. They had 8 coaches that were out due to the COVID protocol. Come playoff time, we don't even know if that's going to play a factor. And those people were,
Right.
I believe, vaccinated too. So there's just so much that goes into the futures, especially with COVID. Before, I think you used to be able to make futures picks. Now it makes it so much more
Too tough.
unpredictable.
It is, especially
Too
with the
tough.
COVID thing. You made a good point. You are really, really good. You're like a sniper with this. You're really good at figuring out which games are trap games that you should stay away from and which games you called it. I think you said last week that the Saints game was a
The
trap
Saints
game.
was
You were
definitely
spot on
one.
with that. You're really good at kind of getting a feel for which games are
Mm-hmm.
just, nope, that's suspicious. The line is weird. It's moved in a weird
Yeah.
direction. That is definitely a trap game. So I would love to get both of our takes on week 3 slate,
For sure.
with a little trap or attack. Attack means you love it, you're attacking it, you're putting your money on it. And maybe you don't know which side of the game you're on, but you like the game and you're going to take a look at it. And trap means something's fishy. I don't
Yeah.
like what I see. I'm staying away. So do you want to start? Because you're like fantastic at this.
Yes.
I'm going to pull up the slate, but you're really
Yeah, I'm
good at
looking at the
sniffing
slate
out
on
the
the
trap
side
games.
here. So Liv and I talk constantly. I don't think people realize how often we talk. So like,
It's like
I think
every
we were
day,
talking.
actually.
Yeah, we definitely talk every day. I don't know if you called me Tuesday morning or Monday morning. We were just talking about. I think this was Tuesday, Monday. No, it was Tuesday. We were talking through the bets, looking at the slate, kind of. And I think it was the Seahawks -3 at the time. And I was like, that Seahawks Vikings game, like that's a trap game. Stay away from it. It's now Seahawks -1.5. And the reason I say this is because if you read Warren Sharp's book over the summer, I know a lot of people were getting into that in terms of betting. He had 2 good points on it that I didn't even know about, which is Minnesota's 35-15 at home under Mike Zimmer and won at least 50% of their home games in each of those seasons before posting a 3-5 home record last season due to COVID without fans. Now, the Vikings had the NFL's best home cover rate in the NFL, 70% since moving into their new stadium. So the Vikings are very, very, very good at home. So I thought at this time maybe they would be at minus money. I mean, I know they're 0-2 right now, but still to this effect, I think the Vikings, this was a trap game, but if I was going to lean one way, I would just take Vikings money line in this. But that was the one that I was off the bat was like, I'm staying away from. And the past 2 weeks has been the Saints games that I called trap games, which were both trap games.
And you kind of scared me out of betting on the Saints right now because I took them -3.5, and obviously
plus
that bit me in
3.5,
the
you mean,
butt
Saints?
for week 2.
Oh,
I took
week
them
2.
last week. They were the
Yes.
favorite. And actually, I kind of want to touch on this for a quick second too, that now I'm like getting PTSD and getting really nervous when I see the number 3.5 because I have literal PTSD from week 2. I had Chiefs -3.5, no go. Saints -3.5,
Same.
no go. Cardinals
Same.
-3.5, no go. So, I mean, for whatever reason, that 3.5 number was sketchy in week 2, and it's kind of making me want to stay away in week 3. That being said, I do think I have a 3.5 bet, so maybe I should just like swallow my own words. But Yeah, you got to be careful. Not every game is worth your bet. I mean,
Yeah. I mean,
honestly,
week 1, I took all +3.5s, like across the board, every single dog. And I said that from the beginning, and that worked out in my favor. So week 2, I was like, there's no possible way with me picking some of the favorites -3.5 that they are all going to not cover. And it didn't work in my favor.
there's a
I
couple.
just should have taken the dog again.
I know the dogs seem to be the way to go. If you don't know what to bet, just take the dogs to cover the spread. It's kind of how it feels. Ariel,
Hi guys.
welcome, my girl. We were just talking about week 3, week 3. We kind of have this new segment right now that is called Trap or Attack. And we were basically talking about how there are some games that are just trap games. And right off the bat, you can look at the slate and say, no, this is not a good idea. I should not bet on this. So since you're here, first of all, welcome to
Thanks,
the
guys. I have Kim,
welcome.
by the way, and shout out to Chelsea Messenger who got me this wine glass. Like, it says Prop Queen. She got it for me like a year or 2 ago, like thanking me for coming on the show. She's so sweet. So yeah, me and Kim Crawford are celebrating.
Obsessed. Okay, I want you to
Right.
repeat that because when I got on this, I said to everyone, I will put my life on it that Ariel will show up with a glass of Kim Crawford Sauvignon Blanc. Is that what you're drinking?
Oh my gosh, of course, 100%. I'll put my IFB in because I hear myself echoing. But cheers.
Cheers to you. I'm drinking the same. Erin, show her what you've got. You
What do you
spiced
got?
it up a
So
little.
I came with a Marg Ariel because it's
Oh,
just so
fancy.
yeah, I didn't have any wine, and so I just went for it.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that. I just know Liv and I always drink Kim Crawford.
Always.
Yeah, but anyway, okay, so you guys were talking about these NFL lines and you were talking about which ones you just feel are trappy, right?
Yeah, a
Yes.
little bit. And Erin just mentioned that the Seahawks initially opened at -2.5. It's now down to -1.5. When it was at -2.5, though, she told me on the phone, she's like, that one feels like a trap game. Sure enough, some weird line movement. She had some facts about the Vikings and how they play at home under Mike Zimmer. So she has declared that the Seattle game feels like a trap game. I was just getting ready to say that there are 2 games to me that are a little something in my gut is like, I'm not sure. It's the Colts versus the Titans. Something about that does not feel right. I'm not a fan of that one. And the other one that I don't really love, believe it or not, is the Bears versus the Browns. I don't know what it is, but that -7 just doesn't feel good to me. And I just think I'm going to stay away from that one personally, but more so the Colts versus the Titans. I don't love that one. I'm definitely not betting on it. But are there any games that you are feeling like are trap games and you're staying away from them?
I love the ones that you guys mentioned. I agree. Minnesota is a completely different team when they're home than away, especially with their quarterback, Kirk Cousins. I've heard from so many odds makers that said whenever Kirk Cousins is on the road, you just have to laugh at it and say, haha, all these people are going to go take the points with Minnesota and they're going to lose because Kirk Cousins is horrendous on the road. It's just a running joke. When he's home, different story. Same thing for a lot of the games you mentioned, Liv. Like, we don't know what Justin Fields is going to look like at quarterback for Chicago. I don't like to bet on uncertainty. And people laugh when I joke about that because all gambling is essentially uncertain. However, I really don't know what Justin Fields is going to look like. And it wouldn't even shock me if he's such a playmaker. Like you saw what Justin Herbert did week 2 last year with the Chargers. The Chiefs had absolutely no idea he was going to be starting that game. And they covered that spread and almost won the game outright. You have 0 film on Justin Fields. I agree with you. You cannot lay the points at 7.5 with a banged up Cleveland Browns team who now lost Jarvis Landry, their wide receiver, in addition to Odell Beckham Jr. maybe playing this week for the first time in a year. The other one is the Monday Night Football game. The Dallas Cowboys are coming off a close win. They had a close loss week 1, a close win week 2. Now they're going to Jerry's World and they're at -3.5 against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles already had the line move a point in their favor from 4.5 to 3.5 that Monday game. And from people I've heard who even report and like cover the Cowboys, they said they would take the points with the Eagles. And that just scares me for an NFC least divisional matchup.
Coming right at my Philadelphia Eagles, hot and heavy, Ariel. So I feel like we
I
gotta
like
give
them.
you
I
the
said I wouldn't
proper-
mind taking them.
No. I know, but the NFC least. But I agree with you. I have to agree with you there. But I feel like we have to give you the proper introduction. Ariel Epstein, the absolute prop queen. We kind of want to get your take. Obviously, you said some of the games that you had liked, but just in general, since you do handicap games, whatnot, what do you factor in the most? Especially if you're coming off, let's say, hypothetically, if you didn't do great in week 2, what are you doing going into week 3?
Drinking wine, Kim Crawford. No,
Of course.
of course. I like to look a lot at situational spots. Of course, I love betting on the props. I like to bet a lot of the different games where I see certain trends happening from a props perspective. I love to attack bad secondaries. I like to go for longest receptions props. I like to target some players that maybe people haven't caught up to yet in the market. Like someone like a Tim Patrick last year. His receptions prop, no one caught on to him. He's a Denver Broncos wide receiver. There were 2-3 young studs like a Jerry Jeudy, a Cortland Sutton. There were certain players on that team, and Tim Patrick no one knew about. Yet his receptions prop wouldn't go for his yardage, but receptions prop people just never heard of. James Robinson, a running back on the Jaguars last year, no one heard of him until like week 8, the book finally caught up. It's finding those players now that we have 2 weeks of data that I love to look at. And then also just finding, again, like I mentioned before, those situational spots, just seeing, okay, do they face someone in the division the next week? Or is this a banged up secondary? Is this a banged up team? Are they coming off a short week, etc.? Is the team they're facing on a short week? Those are all the different factors I like to jump in on. And then, of course, reverse line movement is always so much fun to track those fishy lines.
So I love that. I mean, essentially what you're saying is you find an edge, which I think is so important in the betting world, especially when you're looking at such a large slate. It's kind of helpful to narrow it down when you've got an edge and, a team that's injured, a player that's injured, a QB that's out, whatever it may be. But I am really curious to pick your brain on something because Erin and I have already talked about how brutal week 2 was for us, and Vegas was obviously very happy in a lot of different ways. Shout out to your Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson. They looked incredible. So shout out to them. I was very, that was a game. I was not expecting the game that we got.
Me either.
Yeah, I don't think many people were, but to that point, Vegas, was very happy coming out of week 2. And so I want to know from you, you're looking at a matchup, you're finding that edge, you're looking at injuries. How much consideration do you put into how heavy the public is on a team and how heavy the sharps are on a team? Because the reality is that is part of this industry is, oh, the public is very heavy on this team. Vegas doesn't like to lose. How much of that do you consider? Because I've found myself lately almost wanting to say, screw my handicapping. 90% of my Instagram followers and 90% of the money in the FanDuel Sportsbook is on the Chiefs. I kind of want to take the Ravens in this one. So how much do you consider that?
A little bit. I definitely loved from a Ravens fan perspective when no one was choosing them. The Rams had the similar thing with the Colts last week where the Rams were getting 90% of the money, the Chiefs were getting 90% of the money, and it just stayed. Like I would look more as to how the line doesn't move. If you're seeing that there's 90% of action on something and the line just sits there like it did with the Ravens and Chiefs, like it did with the Rams and the Colts, I say, ooh, okay, that's a fishy line. Like if that line is 90% on the Rams, why are they not favored by more? Or why are the Chiefs not moving to a 4.5? That line, if it was 90% of the action coming in on the Chiefs, realistically, you probably should have moved it a point. And as soon as Yanni the Greek's one of the sharpest guys out there in Vegas, he came on the morning after and he said, my guys grabbed Kansas City at a 4. And as soon as it hit 4 and they bet it, they never touched it at 3.5, 3. Like once that line moved, and he said, that's how I knew that the book had it right, because the book, once they moved to 4, the sharp guys bet it and it went right back down to 3.5 and you never saw it touch 4 again. I look to more how it moves the line more so than just the percentage of bets.
So speaking of line movement, Thursday night football coming up. Panthers open -4, already bet up to -7.5 against Houston with Tyrod Taylor. Of course, he's not going to be playing with that hamstring injury. Davis Mills going to step in. Panthers 7-0 against the spread in their last 7 home games. Texans 4-0 against the spread in their last 4 as an underdog. In this situation, since the line is moving so much, obviously due to injury, are you going to bet on the game that way, or are you going to take a prop?
I'll be taking props in this game. 7.5, even though I really do believe the Panthers are going to win and win easily. They have a really good defense. They have a top 5 defense across the first 2 weeks of the season this year, in addition to facing a rookie quarterback who, by the way, they faced in the Jets and absolutely destroyed, Zach Wilson. That's why I do believe Carolina wins. I just would rather sit and bet a team total under on the Texans, or I would go and bet something like a longest receptions prop for the Panthers because Houston has a bad defense, or just Christian McCaffrey eat all day long. This was the worst run defense in football last year, allowing just over 160 rushing yards per game. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey is going to eat in this game. The only issue with his stats and with his props is you just hope they don't take him out in like the third quarter if they're up by too much. That's why sometimes in these games, if you do feel it's going to be a blowout, go for those longest receptions props, because all it takes is one deep pass in the first half of the game and you don't have to worry about it again.
I love that. Small flex, even though it's not a flex at all. Christian McCaffrey did go to high school 10 minutes from my house. He doesn't know I exist. He doesn't know I even am on this planet. He has no idea who Liv Moods is whatsoever. I did, as a high schooler, post Friday Night Football. I went to IHOP. He was there. I was like 2 booths away. That is a flex to me. Again, he
I love that.
But anyway, I think it's flex because he's a total badass, and it's cool that I'm like, oh, we grew up in the same town.
I say this stuff all the time. I say stuff like, so Mike Hughes is the Kansas City Chiefs cornerback now, but he used to be on the Minnesota Vikings. He had a game, I think it was against the Browns. He had an interception in the game that sealed the deal. And I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I covered this guy. He's from New Bern, North Carolina, which is where I worked in local news. I just find those kinds of things where you like meet these people who just become famous, and you meet them when they're nobodies, and now you see what they amount to. Brandon Ingram, the same thing, from the same town I worked in North Carolina. Like, now I walk around and like if I see Brandon Ingram, his dad like messages me on Facebook. It's just those kinds of things.
I love it.
It's so cool. And like, it's all these things that you get from a small town, but no one really knows unless you're like from that small town or worked at a small town.
Let's be real. I mean, quick hot take question for a minute. I'm going to get ripped apart in the chat for this one, but like I care. What's a bigger flex for McCaffrey? The way he plays football, or the fact that his girlfriend is Olivia Culpo? I'm sorry. I might lean towards Olivia Culpo. I'm sorry, but she is pretty perfect, to be honest with you. If Olivia Culpo was in the stands at my home games, like, that might be a bigger flex than my performance on the field. We
always say, right, as females, you always say that you, like, the guy has to feel like the girl that he's with is better than them in order for them to like treat you like a princess, or else they just would take for granted who you are. So he probably looks at her too and is like, yeah, that's pretty damn cool. I've got to treat her like a princess.
When he's making his
I don't know
resume,
if you guys have forgotten, but do you remember when she dated, I believe, was it Danny Amendola, and he put out this long message about her when they broke up?
Yes, I remember that.
Oh,
that
way back
they broke up. I was gonna say they broke up. Like, it was like definitely public knowledge for sure, because he's an NFL player and she's amazing.
It's just like, I can't even imagine football is probably a little bit easier, and when you're in entertainment, you kind of know like the way that the world, but like, imagine being in entertainment and you have your crazy schedule, and now you have an athlete's crazy schedule. Like, football, I kind of understand, like, at least you're traveling maybe like 3-4 times a week. Yeah, but baseball, like, if you're with someone who plays baseball, you're gone like every day.
Couldn't do that. Yeah, no, I couldn't do that.
Absolutely.
Too much attention.
Ariel, we also, since we talked, you mentioned North Carolina and whatnot, I wanted the chat and audience to know kind of where you've come from. I know that you graduated from Syracuse. I saw you did go to Penn State for 2 years, so you kind of
We're like the same, Erin. You went to Oregon for a little and then Penn State. I just did it reverse. Penn State.
You did it in reverse. Yes, you did. I know you, after college, went into local news, then you got into sports betting. So what was that career transition like as a female in sports? Now you're in sports betting as a female, so it might be just a tad different, but what's that transition been like for you?
I absolutely loved transitioning from local news to sports betting, solely because I thought going into sports betting and fantasy football, getting into that world and being able to talk on a talk show, you're able to get out your knowledge. The hardest part about local news is you've got your 2.5 to 5 minutes. Most of it's reading highlights. You're reading some kind of script with video over your face. no one actually believes that you have knowledge when you're doing that. I mean, some people do, but there were a lot of people that would say, okay, how much does she really know? She's reading a teleprompter. Then I started doing radio in North Carolina, and a lot of people who would watch my newscast also listen to that radio station. They would message me on Facebook or email me and say, wow, you were great on radio today. You know your stuff. I can't wait to watch you again later tonight on the local newscast. Those were the things that I said, okay, I need to find a job after local news that helps me to showcase that I know my stuff, that I'm not just reading highlights off a screen. And that's what sports betting is able to do, because also I hate the side like crap. Like I hate talking about the off the field stuff and the things that a lot of people like. You could find that on any news channel. When you're talking sports betting and daily fantasy, people just want to know how to win and they want to know about the game. And that's all I want to talk about. I'm not here to talk politics. I'm not here to talk about your life. I just want to tell you how to win based on the X's, O's, and betting analysis. That's it.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I know
that.
coming from local news in Philadelphia, I did struggle a little bit with like knowing there's a teleprompter, you're writing in what your little segment is, you're talking for maybe, 10 to 30 seconds of a hit. I was on the morning show, which is different because I know you were probably doing packages and actually out there filming there and doing things like that. But that's the one cool thing about betting too, is that you can have an opinion on something. Like Liv can totally love a game and have her opinion that this team's going to do it, and I could have the total opposite opinion, and you could want to hear both of our sides, which is really cool about sports betting and something that's totally different, I think, than going the traditional route.
I love that. I also think too, like there have been plenty of times on Twitter where, now trust me, more times are negative to me or like annoying and obnoxious than anything else. But there are a lot of times where someone on Twitter will point something out that I didn't even think about. And then I'm like, oh, like I do think that there's a certain level of like flexing your knowledge in this industry. Delivery is everything. When people flex their knowledge under every tweet I ever put out and contradict every word I ever say, that is not flexing your knowledge. That is being annoying. But to your point, like Ariel, you get in front of the camera and you talk about sports and people are like, well, damn, like she really does know her shit. She really does like put in the energy and time to figure it out. And I think that's the flexing of your knowledge. Again, you're not just reading off a teleprompter or memorizing lines. It's you putting in the work and then delivering the content. And I think people respect that a lot. I mean, you're
no teleprompter in my bedroom studio here. There's
I know.
No.
3 hours? I wonder
here.
if people think that all three of us have prompters, because none of us have prompters.
No, I stare into my ring light, almost blinded after a 3-hour show.
You can see my eyes are like kind of flickering a little bit right now.
Seriously, I think I'll probably have a permanent migraine for the rest of my life from this ring light right here.
You got to use the blue light glasses during the day. But Ariel, another thing we wanted to do and play with you is 2 truths and a lie. So we're each going to go through 3 rounds. I can go first. I will give my first one, and then whoever answers first, and if you get it right, you won't have to drink. Your partner will have to drink, but if you get it wrong, you'll have to drink.
Okay.
Kosher?
Got it.
I got to think of my 2 truths and a lie.
Okay.
I think I've got it.
Here we go. Okay. I didn't try fruit until I was a senior in high school. I was on the swim team in grade school. I dressed up as a boy in the Christmas pageant and was one of the wise men.
Oh, this is well
What
thought
was
out.
the second one again?
I was on a swim team in grade school.
I'm going with you didn't try fruit until high school.
That's a
I'm
truth.
going with
You're going to have to drink.
I'm going with swim team.
Yes, Liv, you're right. Swim team was a lie. I'm the worst swimmer ever.
Really?
I actually believe that.
I was about to drink. I just obviously love wine. I was about to drink and I won.
Yeah,
funny story actually. I didn't want to get my hair. So at my high school, you had to take a swimming class.
We had that in middle school. We had that in middle school. It was horrible.
So they did that in high school. And mind you, I was on the dance team.
It sucked.
You would get in a swimsuit.
Yeah. So check this out. You used to actually have to get in the pool. Your hair would get wet. Like you'd have to shower and everything before your next class. I said, HE double hockey sticks. No, I am not. Do you know how long it takes me to do this hair? I'm not doing it. I'm on the dance team. I have to look good for the football game tonight. I'm not doing it. So I did, in fact, have some sort of medical excuse that I don't even remember at this point. Honestly,
they're gonna make Liv go back to high school now and take that swim class. They're gonna have a search warrant out.
I think I told them that I had really because I do have eczema. That was kind of a weird thing to point out, but I do. And I think I told them that the chlorine was bad for my skin.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh, that is.
That's
So I didn't have to
amazing.
take swimming, and it was really all about the hair. I didn't want.
Yeah, me too. It was a nightmare. It was like hair, and I'm
Yeah.
starting to wear a little bit of makeup. In middle
Nope.
school, they made us do it. It was, and at middle school too. It's
I
so
just had
awkward.
gym class. I thought, I mean,
That's
we would just
horrible.
show up to gym class and we didn't have showers or anything. We just showed up, did it, and then went back to class.
No,
That
it
was
was
the
a
only activity we did.
requirement in high
Mhm.
school. I'm like, that's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it was
I'm not doing
horrible. It was
that. Okay,
horrible.
Ariel, are you
horrible.
going next or am I?
You go next.
Okay.
Thank you.
First one. My whole life I have hated dogs and been scared of dogs up until about 2 years ago. I can only drink milk if there's ice in it, or I am. Oh, wait, hold on. I have. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, one more. Or I played soccer in elementary school.
I feel like the lie is I played soccer.
Yeah, you hesitated on that one.
Yeah, that was tough, Liv. I might just drink to that in general.
Let's just
I
drink
think
to
I
Liv
need to drink.
trying.
I
Let's
think
just drink
I
to Liv
need to
trying.
drink
That's
because
a
that
group
was.
drink because that was brutal.
Yeah, I drink to Liv trying on that one. Okay,
I
I'll
was
go.
really hoping Ariel would tell me that she was
probably
going to
gonna
go.
stalk
So I
I
had
know.
time to figure out my.
I'm gonna think now. I hated coffee until my senior year of college. I have 3 dogs, and I have a brother that's 13 years younger than me.
The
The
lie
first
is
one.
3 dogs. You have 2 dogs, right?
Yeah, I have 2 dogs.
Oh,
I did
I
hate
rock.
coffee. I did
I
hate
rock when
coffee until my senior year internship with the Yankees. I got there and it was like right across the street from a Dunkin at Yankee Stadium, and all my the people that worked at Yankee Stadium, they would go get coffee all the time. They said, "Do you want to come?" I said, "No, I hate coffee." They said, "How do you hate coffee?" I said, "I just hate coffee." I was a really picky eater growing up. And they said, "Okay, you have to come with us because if you think you're gonna make it in the sports business without drinking coffee, you might as well just go find a new job." And I said, "What do you mean?" They said, "You're gonna work crazy hours. You need to drink coffee." So the guys at Yankee Stadium would literally buy me a coffee every day until I liked it. Like, didn't even make me spend the money. They just bought me a coffee every day and said, "Keep drinking it until you like it."
I will
yeah, when
say,
I started working in local news at 2 a.m., I didn't have a cup of coffee
Oh.
till I was, I think, 20 years old. And that's when I
Yeah.
finally caved. I was like, too early.
I've got to say it, hot take, Dunkin is so much more elite than Starbucks, period.
I
I don't
like
like
Dunkin'.
either of them, to be honest.
So I'll
I think
tell
they're
you,
trash.
I like Starbucks tea and I like Dunkin' coffee. Starbucks
I
coffee
can't drink
makes me feel
Starbucks.
ill.
I
Have
can't.
Have you
drink
ever had
Starbucks.
the, it's called the flu bomb?
Oh,
at
the
Starbucks?
sick tea.
Yes, yes. I went
Oh.
up to them recently and was like, can I have the flu bomb? Just 'cause I like the taste of it.
Did
And
they
then
ask
freaked
if
out.
you
And
had
they were like,
COVID too? Because
yes.
they probably freaked out if you asked for it
They
nowadays.
did
Go
not.
to the window, they're like,
It's not on the menu anymore. And I'm like, yeah, it is. You know what the ingredients are. Like, you have all of it. Just make it for me. All
On
right.
Twitch, S Bronner 17 says y'all need to prepare for this. By y'all, he means Olivia. And S Bronner, you couldn't be more correct. I am sorry. That was a big failure on my end. 2 truths and a lie. Way harder than I thought it was going to be, honestly.
All right. Let's get my second one out here. Okay. I named all my pet rabbits growing up the same exact name, Flopsy. I was on academic probation a freshman year because of dress code violations. I once had the Eagles mascot show up to my birthday party.
The Eagles mascot.
Yes, you're right. That's a lie.
I could totally see
So
the dress code violation thing.
in
I could
terms of the
totally
dress
see
code
Erin violating
violations,
that.
guys, what did you say? Sorry, you guys are skipping out of my ear. What was that last comment?
I said I could totally see you getting in trouble for dress code violations in school.
I had a 4.0. I was on student council. I did every sport. And here I was on academic probation because I had 28 demerits. But what would happen at my school is if your shoe was untied, you get 5 demerits in detention, which means you go Saturday and you have to pay to go to detention. You have to pay $10. So
For what? What do they put that towards?
I have no idea. And
They
if they
stole
take your
your
cell
money.
phone, if they see it, it's $20. So I had to pay probably a couple $100 in high school. Even if they saw it after school, they weren't allowed to see it at all in a bag, nothing. But that's besides the point. Okay, Liv, you're up. Let's try to get a good one here.
Okay, give me 2 seconds because I had them in my brain. Is the first one.
You want me to go?
Yeah, you go because I'm
Okay.
close. I have them. They're
Okay.
close.
Okay. I got lunch detention from every teacher I had in middle school. Let's see. I just got an apartment in Manhattan, and let me think. One more. I'm so bad. Wow, everyone's on Twitch is going to be mad at me.
You guys are actually like, it's
I know. I didn't think I had
What is wrong with you people?
Okay.
Like, geez.
I know it's a bad game. I should have planned better. Okay, so I got lunch detention from everyone in middle school. I just got an apartment in Manhattan today, and I absolutely I can't think of the last one. What do I want to do? I thought I had it in my head, but now I don't. Damn, this is hard.
It is.
This is really hard.
You guys are very smart individuals. It's too true.
I know. This is really not. It shouldn't be as hard as it is. Oh, okay. And I almost died in a Category 4 hurricane.
Jesus,
I forgot the other two.
I hope that's the lie. Is that the lie?
Yeah, is that the lie?
No, I actually was in a Category 4 mandatory evacuation hurricane in local news in New Bern, North Carolina, and I had to cover it. And it was brutal. I thought I was like literally like in tornadoes, and I thought I was gonna die. So my lie was I didn't get lunch detention from everyone in middle school, but I did for every teacher in 6th grade. Like literally made my rounds in 6th grade. But then I got better by the time I had to write a note to the teachers starting in 7th grade, and then my parents got mad. So that ended.
Well, I guess Liv and I are drinking to that because we both got it wrong there.
Cheers.
That was the craziest experience I ever had. I tell everyone about it. I will never live in the South again.
Yeah, no, I would not be a fan of that. Okay. I love tomatoes. I had a pet turtle growing up. I had 2 stalkers in college where the police had to get involved.
You love tomatoes.
I don't like tomatoes.
There you go.
That was a lie.
I haven't even thought about food. I should have thought about.
You know what
food.
it is? I'm a big texture person, so
Me
like
too.
tomatoes, like especially
writing
the
down
round.
mine now because we have one more round left.
The round tomatoes that like pop when you bite them, like make me want to hurl. Like I don't know what it is. It makes me sick. But yeah, I'm not a tomato girl, and I'm also not a mushroom girl. Those are 2 foods where I'm just like, I'm good.
I'm a big texture person. Like I can't eat any fruit unless it's in a blended. Like I can't physically eat a banana. It has to be chopped up.
I agree
All
with
right,
that. Actually.
last round, guys.
Okay, I've got mine written down now, so I'm good to go. I'm making mine all sports oriented.
Okay. I only have one cousin. I can't live without coffee, and I can do a one-handed cartwheel.
Lies, you can do a one-handed cartwheel. You cannot.
No, I can do that, and I'll film it for you after. I'm also double jointed, which Liv found out before this show, which I will not do on camera because I feel like that will surface somewhere. I have 32 younger cousins than me on just my dad's side. My dad's 1 of 9, so I have an insane amount of cousins.
Oh
so
my
that was
God.
The lie. And I'm the oldest girl, so I have a cousin at every single solitary age beneath me, and I'm 25. Some have double, obviously.
Oh my God.
Christmas.
My Christmas is insane.
Yeah, that's a big Christmas.
Thousands of kids, and just because my grandma really goes all out for Christmas, and she gives everyone like multiple gifts. So the tree is so insane, and our house is not big, so we're all like sardines.
I have a total of 3 cousins on both sides.
That's crazy to me.
That's crazy too. I feel like I have a very normal amount. I have like 5 or 6 on each side.
What? That's normal?
Yeah, I feel like that's normal.
Okay.
It's like 2 or 3 kids per. There's like my grandparents on each side had 3 kids, and each of the 3 kids have 2 to 3 kids.
Well, my dad's 1 of 9, his mom's 1 of 12, and his dad's 1 of 6, and then so we have like thousands and thousands of Dolans and twins. And there's so many of us, but okay, Liv, you're up.
Okay.
Woo! Wait. Okay. Hold on.
I have mine down if you want me to go.
Yeah, you go.
Okay,
I
Ariel.
just need one more, and then
Okay.
I'm good.
The first time that I bet on something was the 2000 Super Bowl. I played baseball with Derek Jeter, and I met Ray Lewis.
You didn't play baseball with Derek Jeter.
Yeah, Derek Jeter, for sure.
Nope. I've never met Ray Lewis.
Oh, I would have thought that
Dang.
as Ravens.
Yeah, my bat mitzvah
Ooh.
present, when I was getting bat mitzvahed, my grandparents found a baseball clinic with Derek Jeter, Ron Guidry, and Tino Martinez, and they paid for me to go to this baseball clinic. So for like 3 hours, I played baseball with Derek Jeter, and it was the sickest thing ever.
And by the way, Ariel is a huge Major League Baseball fan. That is that is your cup of tea. Is that your favorite sport in general to like bet on, cover, and everything, or do you have a preference?
It's hard because I can't watch baseball every day the way that I watch. Like I could watch a full day of football because it's like the once or 3 times a week. Baseball, it's harder for me to watch full games like all the time. But when it comes to my love, baseball was where I got my first love. My grandpa and my dad started taking me to games when I was little, and I started loving baseball because of Derek Jeter. Then after their Derek Jeter love, everyone fell in love with NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys, and I just like fell in love with Derek Jeter. Went to all the game. I mean, I would watch every single game. Then my dad had all his friends over, like when I was maybe like a year or two after I became a big Yankees fan, and they were watching football. I just hated that, I loved that I was able to now watch baseball with everyone and know everything about the sport. And I felt so cool and included because my dad thought it was cool that I knew everything, but I didn't know anything about football yet. It was only baseball that I knew. So my dad got me an Xbox and I started playing like Madden and MLB 2K and all that stuff. And I learned football through playing Madden on Xbox. Like I learned like being out in shotgun. I learned pistol formation. I learned the defenses, 3-4 zone, all that stuff, all through just playing video games. So I remember I went upstairs and my dad was watching with his friends and I said, "Oh, Kyle Bowler's out in shotgun." My dad said, "How the hell do you know that?" I said,
I don't know. I just do.
Yeah. So
I love that. That's a cool way to learn sports right there.
It is.
I think I learned
That's
how to
super
drive
cool.
through video games too. Like when I first got behind the wheel, like I didn't think it was so hard. I obviously had to
didn't.
get the
I was crashing
feel.
into everything.
So Ariel's a really bad driver, you guys, because her driver's ed was a video game. No, I'm kidding.
But supposed to be like a typical New Yorker. Okay.
I have mine. The first one is I have lived through a school shooting. The second one is I eat a tiny piece of chocolate every night. And the third one is I am allergic to cockroaches.
You're allergic to cockroaches. And how do you know that?
Yeah. How would anyone know they're allergic to cockroaches?
You both have to drink. I am allergic to cockroaches.
What?
I got one of those allergy tests.
Wait, we were right. So
and
we
they-
can't drink.
No, she is allergic to cockroaches.
I am allergic to
So
cockroaches.
you don't eat chocolate.
I don't eat chocolate.
I
don't like
sorry.
chocolate.
You are allergic. Sorry. That was my bad.
You
That's my
don't
bad.
like
So,
chocolate?
No.
I'm obsessed.
I will eat it. It's not like I'm like
Obsessed.
grossed out by it, but like if there's a bag of chips versus a candy bar, I will always go for the salty.
I should have
Always.
known about this. Me and Liv talked about this on the phone the one time. She's
Yes.
like, "Do you ever crave salty?" Like, we have the most random conversations, but that was one of them. I should
No,
have
I'm
known
telling
that
you,
one.
I'm not a big sweets person, but yes, the reason that I know I'm allergic to cockroaches, I know that is the most random thing in the whole planet, but I'm telling you, I had to get one of those big allergy tests because I really do have really bad eczema. When I was a little girl, it was like painful, like all over my body, so bad. And so I had to go get one of those allergy tests, and they test you for bees, grass, cats, all these different things, but cockroaches was one of them, and it swelled up bigger than anything else, along with cats, and I have 2 cats, so obviously
I'm
I get a
allergic
little
to cats.
sniffly and itchy, and it is what it is. But cockroaches, like, 1, who tests for that? 2,
Ugh, I've never
I'm
even
not
heard of being
in-
tested for that.
isn't that effing weird?
You
So
couldn't go
yes,
to my
it
high
is-
school. My high school was like infested with cockroaches. It was disgusting.
Ugh,
I just get all swollen.
what is wrong with you
No,
guys?
seriously. I literally am allergic to cockroaches. The weirdest thing ever. I did live through a school shooting, very, very traumatizing, and I don't really love chocolate. I'm a
like
salty
chocolate's the
girl.
one I couldn't give up.
I couldn't.
Like I might
Oh.
pick chocolate over coffee, honestly.
No,
That
you're
would be
insane.
tough. That'd be tough for me because it was.
No.
So we just had Yom Kippur, which in the Jewish religion you have to fast for 24 hours, and this was just on Thursday. My mom and we woke up in the morning and we said all we wanted was a coffee. Like we could have made it through the whole day without eating. We could have made it the whole day, probably even without water. we
Probably
just
the caffeine, right?
you just like you can't eat or drink the whole day, like not even water. It was more just
Oh,
you
wow,
wait.
I didn't know
I saw
that.
your tweet about
Oh my
this, Erin.
God.
Like you woke up this morning and you tweeted like I wake up for coffee.
Oh, the
And
only reason I like actually physically move from the bed after watching a few TikToks is to get my coffee.
right. So that was
It's
the
the
point. Like
only
I felt I
reason.
had no inspiration to wake up in the morning because I couldn't go
Literally.
get my
We
coffee.
sound
The only
so
thing I'm
uninspired.
wanting.
We're like the only thing that gets us out of bed is coffee, as if
It's
we don't
not
have
work.
jobs.
It's not our family. It's not our dogs. It's the cup
It's
of
not
coffee
love
waiting
for
for us.
life. It's just the
Literally.
coffee.
It's just
Literally.
straight up coffee.
I have to address the chat. There's kind of some funny things going on in here. Someone says, fast forward, Liv marries an exterminator.
Ooh.
That would be pretty funny. I'm seeing if there's anything
That's
else.
Someone just asked me on YouTube, are you related to Richard Dolan? He's a big UFO guy. Not that I know of. There's many Dolans, but I don't know anybody in my family immediately that's a UFO guy.
Some person, S. Brunner, who has been an OG on the Twitch stream since the beginning of this show, shout out to S. Brunner17. He gave us a little truth, two truths and a lie. So we can kind of guess on him.
Okay.
One,
Okay.
I've been in swimming for 20 years. 2, I love soccer. 3, I have been in a commercial.
Oh.
You love soccer.
I would say I
I
love
was thinking
soccer
soccer too. Yeah.
I think I love soccer's a lie. So S. Brunner 17. If you tricked us and we didn't get it right,
Maybe he just wants to
then-
see us all chug our drink.
yes, he doesn't like soccer. You were right.
Woo!
We're
We
all
got
right
it.
there. How about
got it.
that?
It's
I
tough
love
to
it.
like soccer. I give everyone credit who does. I cannot watch it unless it's elimination format.
No,
And
it's
Yeah,
even
I
then-
actually saw 2 NFL games in Wembley Stadium,
That's
and
cool.
it was cool because we did it through Penn State. But at the time, I was like, you know what? I'd actually love to be in a soccer stadium like this and actually see it, like that type of.
Oh yeah,
mentality.
going to a game
It's
definitely
totally
is different
different.
than watching it on TV.
Oh
my
yeah, I don't watch
sister-
any on TV at all.
Yeah, like my sister doesn't even I had to charge my computer, but my sister doesn't even like my sister doesn't like sports, and she was abroad and she went to one of the soccer matches. She said it was so much fun. She had the best time. She liked it better than any American sporting event.
I'm sure
Yeah.
it's so electric when you're,
Isn't it?
especially when you're international.
Isn't it funny when you have siblings that are so different? Like my brother probably couldn't name 10 football teams. My brother Chris, the other one's a hunter. It's so different.
Yeah.
See, my brother loves sports betting, and I got to give a shout out to my brother really quick because I think that's one thing. He is the only boy. There's 3 girls and Dawson, and he's like, we're 20 months apart. And so I was kind of nervous when I started this career that he was maybe gonna like try to like out knowledge me and like put me down. You know, I mean, he's my brother,
Yeah.
of course, but like I was nervous that I was doing something that maybe he would. And I have to say, he has been so supportive in this job, and he has been nothing but like my biggest cheerleader and supporter. And he is
That's
a
so sweet.
really good sports bettor. He called the Saints upsetting the Packers, and he called the Ravens against the Chiefs. He just has like this
Wow.
weird sixth sense, and he always tries to give me a heads up. But shout out to my
That's
brother
so
Dawson.
cute.
It was
I
his
love
birthday
that.
on Monday, actually. He is
Happy
22 years
birthday.
old. But yeah, he is like so supportive of this career, and he's actually a great sports bettor. So if you ever want to just DM him and ask him about his gut feeling, he's usually pretty on. So shout out
It's
to
so
Dawson.
funny because I forget because I just have been betting and playing fantasy, but like mostly with the betting stuff. And now that I've been in the business for the last few years, forget that it's a whole like 21 and over thing. So when I talk about it with my brother who's only 14, I forget like, wow, he has a long time till he can legally do this. I probably shouldn't like give him so much inside info into how to bet. But here he is. He's like asking me what the spread is on the game, and I'm probably a really bad
Should I
role
tell
model.
him or no? Should I tell him or no?
I'm like, you know what, Brendan, you're gonna need to know this at an older age, so I'll just
Right.
take this as the big sister role and teach
You're
you how to
giving him
do
the
it right.
foundation. You're giving him the foundation.
Erin,
It's great.
I know that you wanted to briefly touch before we wrap the show on a little bit of NBA talk. I think we all 3 bet on the NBA quite a bit. I know
Yeah.
I love player props. That's kind of how I got into this industry. Erin,
The
prop
gateway drug.
queen, you're great at player props in the NBA. Erin, you always know your stuff when it comes to the NBA, and there's some stuff happening. Obviously, opening day is October 19th. It's right around the corner. But Erin, I'm gonna pass it to you because you are a Philly girl So I know you have got a strong opinion on all this Ben Simmons BS that is going around. Where is he going next? I want to know your thoughts on this because I know you've got some opinions. You're a Philly girl, so I know you do.
Yeah, for sure. So I originally thought I was kind of being crazy thinking this, but then after hearing everybody thinking the same thing, and I got so many reactions to my Instagram story yesterday saying, we totally agree with you, preach, all this stuff. Basically, what I was saying is Simmons still has another 4 years left on his contract. I think he has 147 million still remaining on that. Now, the last time we saw him, he could have made that game-tying dunk, didn't do it. He dished it out. He also went 0 for 0 in the final period in multiple games in the playoffs, which is just completely unacceptable. Then we hear the news that he doesn't want to come back. He's basically telling the team he's not going to return at all. He's going to hold out. If he doesn't show up to camp, he's going to be fined $277,000, $613 to that. And he has a preference of where he wants to go. 3 California teams. He wants to go to the Warriors, Lakers, or Clippers. He's going to stay away from the Kings. Again, this is all his preference. And from what I've heard is that these teams, meaning the Warriors, Lakers, and Clippers, aren't really aligning and wanting to grab him. And at the same time, the Sixers don't have to trade him. This is just a request that he's making. To me, I just think it's a total immature move, especially considering the contract that he has. I think it's kind of a cop-out that he's blaming Philly fans because we boo everybody, Joel Embiid included, and then he turned around and had a great season, almost won MVP. I would make the argument if he didn't, of course, get injured for, I believe, 20 plus games. But just from a Philadelphia perspective, I'm really disappointed in this. I'm not surprised. I've been a Ben Simmons hater for a while now, but this just kind of expedited how much Philly as a whole is not going to accept him. And I know that the Sixers can bring him back. The problem is Ben Simmons walks in Wells Fargo, it's not going to be good for him, whether he's in a Sixers uniform or not. Like, Philly fans
ugly.
are crazy. Things will be thrown. There's no doubt in my mind, but it's just a matter now. Where can he go? Where can we get value for him? And I haven't read any reports that make a lot of sense in my mind yet. Obviously, I'd love to get a Damian Lillard, a Bradley Beal type situation, but I don't see that happening right away.
So listen, my take on this, and again, completely unbiased because I don't have any sort of, I mean, I do have a few words to say to the playoff 76ers team that lost me a whole lot of money, but we'll get to that at a different date. But either way, I think with this Ben Simmons stuff, what kind of doesn't sit right to me is, dude, you're not good enough to have the attitude that you have right now.
Agreed.
You're just simply not. If you were this player, and again, I don't ever think you should have a cocky attitude. I deserve better. These players make a lot of money, more money than they probably should make based off of like normal societal like norms. It's absurd how much money these players make. You are not good enough to have this I'm better than you attitude. I just don't understand.
But I don't think commentators think it. I don't think players think it. I don't think coaches think it. That's why I'm just like, you are not Kobe. You are not Michael Jordan. You are not LeBron James. Why are you calling any shots?
You're not. And he's so on Instagram. He's in this weird phase of off season where he's on Instagram flexing his nice cars, and he's just kind of got this arrogance.
Who works out in front of their cars? Like, who works out in front of their cars? Things. He's out there benching. I'm like, but you don't. It's
Ben Simmons. If you made at least 10 points a game, I would have no beef with you right now. I'd say whatever. He's got a bad attitude. Moving on. You have lost me so much money. You are maybe one of the softest point guards in the entire league of the NBA.
He is the softest.
So to me, to have this hardball attitude of screw the 76ers, the fans boo me. The fans boo you because you suck, period. I'm sorry. I know that seems harsh and it's a little aggressive, but I just don't think he's good enough to have this attitude. And I think his attitude in the offseason is really going to affect which teams actually want to bring him on board. I mean, we've seen what bad attitudes do to teams. Kyrie Irving, when he shows up with a bad attitude, the team crumbles. No matter how much talent is there, one bad seed will ruin the entire batch. So I think that he's got to get this attitude under control, and he needs to be humbled. I don't know who's going to humble him, but it needs to be a team that looks at him and says, you're not hot shit. Sit down, take a seat, relax, know who you are, and calm down. I know that seems aggressive, but it's just he's not good enough to act the way he's acting, and
it's just the way you see what a lot of players across the NBA do, and he sees that it's been acceptable and it's worked for so many of the players that between him and his agent, he's thinking, I'm gonna do the same thing. That's the problem when you see the leaders of a league act a certain way. Everyone else below you is gonna do that, and it's not just the NBA; it's just anywhere in general. It all starts from the top. That's the problem with the NBA is just seeing the way that a lot of these athletes act. they feel then anyone who's even below them feels they are entitled to acting the same way. Now, granted, Ben Simmons could take this approach and saying, I'm so miserable here. I have absolutely zero. I don't care if I play even this year. If no one wants to take me, that's fine, but I'm not showing up. And then he's going to get fined up the wazoo for it. He may be that miserable and that's on him, but a normal person can't do this. And that's where I think athletes lose they lose sight of reality, where if you are a normal person in a normal job, you can't just say, I'm not showing up to work today. You'll just get fired and you're not going to get paid.
You're
well,
making
also,
money
there was the
out the
number one seed in the Eastern Conference. It's not like he was on a team that didn't help him. For God's sakes, I don't understand. And I'm more embarrassed about Doc Rivers going on First Take this morning, clarifying some of the comments he made, saying, we want Ben. Like, I know we're in a situation where the only way that we're going to win, both sides are going to win if Ben Simmons just shows up and plays and shoots the ball. Unfortunately, he's not going to do that. So the Sixers are kind of getting backed into a corner a tad.
And look what happened with James Harden. They tried to play the same hardball with him in Houston last year. It didn't work out. They ended up trading him. That probably could happen again. They're just going to sit there and say, we need the money. He's not showing up. He's making our organization miserable.
What is your perspective, both of you, genuinely, of, I'm not saying one particular athlete, but athletes in general who do this? Like, let's say you're a fan of someone. Like, the Harden thing was interesting because Houston was, like, happy. They were like, good for you. We love you. You go figure it out. Philly, like, has pure hate. We're not supportive.
But Houston wouldn't let Harden go. Harden did the same thing last year.
I can't see the Sixers just letting. I mean, I also can't see. I mean, I hope Simmons wouldn't come and dog it, but I just think it's a bad reflection of a person to do that at the same time.
100%. And Erin, you said it best 5 minutes ago. He is an idiot if he walks back in that arena to Philly fans and tries to play.
They will boo the hell out of him.
That's a different. No, it would be like security on.
No, ugly, and that's what I'm saying. He's ran his mouth too much at this point. There is no going back to this Sixers team. He has the damage is done.
But so don't you think if somebody doubted you, you would just go work on it? Like,
yes, when you're not an arrogant, entitled little brat, you would. But he is an arrogant, entitled little brat that wants money and wants to be put on a pedestal without working for it. That is entitlement. That is arrogance. That is bratty. And he is going to get humbled. It's just going to take the right coach and the right teammates who look at him and go, bro, we're on the same level as you, if not better. Take a seat. He needs to take a seat is what he needs to do. And I mean, I don't know. I think if I had Philly fans breathing down my neck because I was missing free throws, I'd be in the gym every single day for the rest of the month working on my free throws. Instead, he boo-hooed and said, they're mean to me. I want to go somewhere else. Bro, you're going to get booed in every city you go to if you keep playing the way you're playing, period. Denver is not that intense. We are not on the level of Philly, but I will be in the arena in Denver booing you if you play the way you do for Philly in Denver, period. It has nothing to do with the fans. Yes, Philly fans are intense. Good for them. It has to do with your ability to play basketball because you're signing a contract to make money out the butt and you're not doing your job the way that you should do your job, period. So he's a brat. Sorry.
And it's wild that Warriors
I just made myself sweaty.
Today. I know. Trust me. How do you think I feel when I have to go into the actual arena and watch them play?
God.
And also just letting people know right now, odds are up right now for where Ben Simmons' next move will be. It's in the Colorado FanDuel Sportsbook one. You can't bet that right now in PA. I'm currently in PA. That's why I'm saying that. But it is interesting.
Yeah, Liv, you're lucky.
Plus, you get all the fun markets.
You get all the fun bets.
Every time.
Yeah, we don't get those out here East.
We're fun. No. Mountain time. Shout out to Mountain time.
Mountain time. Oh my God.
Like, what is mountain time? I'm just kidding.
To be honest with you, I've actually said this before. I'm like, mountain time is actually, in my opinion, the perfect time zone for sports because it's not too early. Like Pacific, sometimes the games are starting in dinner time. Like mountain time is perfect. You've had your dinner. It's still a little light outside. It's not too late in the night when the game ends. But mountain time, I don't think some people even know it exists. It's like the most random time zone. It's weird.
So random.
It was weird.
Last thing I just want to address real quick on the YouTube chat. This person, Poo Puncher, I'm not sure if you're saying me or Liv or Ariel, whoever this is geared towards. This lady has no idea what she's talking about. He's not a bad player. Second in Defensive Player of the Year voting last year. Yes, he was. You are a point guard. If you decide not to shoot, you should not be.
Sorry. I'm
Like,
sorry. I'm gonna have
Simmons,
to
let
tell
me
that
read
guy
this. Simmons did not attempt a shot in the fourth quarter in game 2. He did the same in games 4 through 7. 0 for 0 in the final period. Not one single shot in the fourth quarter over 5 playoff games, including a game-tying one in game 7, Eastern Conference semifinals. We lost the Atlanta Hawks at home. That's my final take. I don't want to talk anymore about it. So we'll wrap
You know
this
what? To the person in the chat that was just roasting me, because I think it was me because I was running my mouth for a long time. All I've got to say is go ahead and take Ben Simmons player props for the rest of the year and see how many units you're up. Just go ahead and do that. And then you can come back to me and tell me that we were wrong. That he's not a bad player. Get the over on every single player prop in the FanDuel Sportsbook and come back to me at the end of the season and tell me how many units you're up. I promise you the conversation will look a whole lot different. Okay? That's all.
I'm excited for NBA.
This was another episode of Girls Who Bet.
When Liv does that laugh, I get so nervous because that's your like devilish laugh.
Woo! I mean, I am like, the fan needs to be on right now. I'm hot. Ben Simmons just made me totally hot. But before we go, can we toss out there maybe a lean for the NFL Sunday slate? Because I know, obviously, there's been some line movements. I know that I've got a couple leans. I would say I'm still kind of waiting for some movements on the spreads because, as you guys know, they'll change up until literally kickoff. So I get a little nervous this early in the week, but I will say over 49.5 in the Ravens-Lions game is definitely a bet that I am writing. I think that's my favorite one right now. Two teams with bottom 15 defense and teams that know how to score. I like this to be a high-scoring matchup between the two. I've got numbers to back it, but I'll leave it there. I like the over 49.5 in the Ravens-Lions matchup.
I'm
Any
trying
early
to think.
leans?
Early lean.
I know we like the Packers. Liv and I were talking plus 3.5 for them. I'm not giving any of my picks till closer to Saturday.
That's why I stuck with a total because I know the spreads. I'm still not like convinced on a lot of them, but I do like that over.
I would say that from a prop perspective, probably just go back until you have a reason not to. The Cooper Kupp longest receptions prop. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, although they were known for having a really good defense last year, they were number 1 in run defense. They were more average when it came to the passing game. And in the games the last 2 weeks, they've been allowing a lot more deep balls. Cooper Kupp has gone over his longest receptions prop in both weeks 1 and 2. He's Matt Stafford's favorite receiver right now. That would be where my eye goes first on this list.
Love.
Okay.
Mic drop. Little mic drop moment. I love that.
All right, guys. Well, this has been fun. Thank you to everybody who tuned in on YouTube and Twitch. Thank you, Ariel Epstein, so much. The prop queen for coming in. Are we doing a little cheers? I guess last thing to that.
Cheers
to the girls who bet.
Cheers to girls who bet.
Yes.
Women
All right.
know sports. I love it. Cheers.
We'll see you guys next week for episode 4, 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
Bye.